With your experience of, continuing with your dad's business in
Mhm.
Kanpur and trying to build your own,
Mhm.
would you say the older wisdom of business still works better?
Come as a new age guy and coming from a corporate background with the AC boardrooms and AC offices and system and processes that you talk about. So there's a huge difference in these two worlds.
Can you define us an angel investor?
Two kind of angel investors. One is pure play money guy. One is the guy who has certain skill sets in this corporate world. Just because age is not at his side, or he's not willing to take that much of risk. So he wants to get that thrill by investing in a startup.
While talking to you, I've heard about this consultative selling. How has that?
When you're trying to build something, don't just build something and try to thrust upon that thing to the customer. Go and sit with the customer, get some insight, then come back and try and build it up.
Investor or the founder, both of their objective is to build a successful business, right?
Yes.
But tell me one difference in perspective.
Founder should always be looking to build the business. Investor has this inherent necessity to look at the valuation or multiples or the market size, stuff like that.
Why do some businesses have higher customer retention versus some people are not able to retain a higher lot?
Go and just discuss your idea. Don't ask for funding. Just discuss, try to make a connection.
Hi Vinay, welcome to Talking Through.
Thank you.
Thank you for being on the show. Before we move any further, I would like to know your story. How did it come to being an angel investor?
So long story. I think there are multiple phases to that. I will break into from the time I got graduated from IIT Roorkee in the year of 1999, computer science graduate. And the whole past 25 years, I will break into two parts primarily. One is the career part, wherein I did the job in the corporate world, and then I got into the startup world. So I think first 10, 12 years was started as a software developer guy, and then I worked with the companies like Hughes, and then got into telecom sales in Ericsson kind of companies. I was a country manager for a company, UK-based company by the name of IP Access for a while, and then 2012-13, when there was a recession in telecom, I kind of found out that I should be this is the right time to switch into the business world. Frankly speaking, my family is a business background, and they've already been pushing me or kind of nudging me, my dad especially, that why don't you do a business. But then since I got into the corporate world and I started liking that, money was good, so I was like I was very happy there out there. So there had to be a reason for me to get into the startup world or the business world for that matter. So yeah, telecom recession was the time, and then second half was divided in multiple startups and multiple experiences. First one was e-commerce, wherein I started with my wife, fashion jewelry e-commerce at that time. We were profitable, we were making some money, we tried to raise funds, we couldn't raise funds. And then we realized that with a family, daughter and wife and other expectations from the family, and you were living a different life altogether before that, it's very difficult to sustain that. So then time came for another experiment. We had to wind it up because it was not going anywhere. The kind of amount that we were earning was not good enough to sustain the family, and how long your own savings or the parents can support you. Around 2014-15 time frame, I think Modi ji came and they came up with this vision of solar thing. So we launched a brand by the name of Solario at that time. We started selling solar panels and solar batteries, more on a B2B kind of setup, wherein we tried to create a brand around that. And again, because of virtue of the past experience of my father, wherein he was coming from the battery industry experience. So I thought, why not connect these two dots and create something out of that. I tried that for 2 or 3 years and I realized that again I chosen a wrong topic to pursue, in that sense that because solar was a big boys game. I mean, big companies were into it, either the customer at the one side and big companies on the other side, and there is not much space for the people in the middle. We were trying to manufacture the solar panel, put up a sticker into that, and try to sell it to the normal consumers. So margins were not good enough, so we were not able to sustain. A lot of learnings, and one of the biggest learning that we got was that we were trying to create a brand per se without actually getting into manufacturing. Our DNA was manufacturing. We knew how to manufacture battery plates, those kind of stuff, but creating a brand, a different ball game altogether. And it's different. You have to have a different corpus of investment to make sure that how to go about it. So again, we had to wind that up. We could not sustain that learnings again. And then I realized that whatever the family business that I was avoiding to do, because there is this competition with the father, that I have wanted to show it to him that I'm coming from a corporate background. I want to create something of my own. I can do this, I can do that. And I realized that now maybe the age is on the wrong side. Let's go back and do what is already working for us. So whatever amount of investment we'll put into the business, after some time we'll get a definite return out of it. I mean, nothing is sure in the world, but at least there's a
Higher
multiple
probability.
multiple decade of experience my dad has. And I think whenever I talk to in a startup world or a startup lingo, maybe that was the first time I got an angel investor in the form of my father. He kind of trusted in my abilities and everything, and we had a lot of fight also at that time. I can There's a very interesting story on that part. So this whole business of dad's is in Kanpur. He has 3 factories at that time, and he always wanted me to come back and join them. And I was like, I did not go to the Western world to go and do a job there and live there. I'm not going to go lesser than the metro. I'm going to be at least in the metro. I'm not Mumbai, not anywhere else, but at least let's say in the Gurgaon. So, and then the whole culture and working method is different in Kanpur from the metro or Delhi NCR kind of capital kind of place. So I said, I'm going to do it, same business there. And he was like totally against. Everything is set up here. I'm here. Customer is here. Supplier is here. Your employees are here. Operator who are supposed to build or manufacture the stuff, they are there. Why do you want to do something different? And then I had this what do you call Kida, so called. I want to create something of my own. Why I call it? I mean, of course, there's a positive thing that easy part is that your father is there. He can
help you out.
Always help you out and do that. But no, it was not that easy. He was very difficult to it was very difficult to convince him. We had a lot of fights and everything, and eventually when he kind of surrendered or kind of said yes, even then he put up a condition that go back, do the market research, find out the customer, find out the suppliers, find out how you're going to manufacture things, find out the land we're going to establish the factory and everything, and then come back and tell me your findings, and then I might fund you. But I think I spent almost 2 years to do that. And once I came back with my findings with a heavy heart, he said, okay, let's do that. So he kind of invested in one land near Delhi, in the place by the name of Bhiwadi, Kushkeda specifically. And then it took us 2 years to build the factory. And then we started, by God's grace, from the day one itself, we got, because everything was set up, customer was there, supplier was there. So we got the raw material and everything, and we got the people who were supposed to manufacture the stuff as well. So we got that. And first 7 months was fantastic. We kind of operated 80-90% of the capacity of the machine that we installed. And then God wanted to have it that way. Corona came in 2020 time frame. Rather 2020 it was already done. 2021 came. And my father got expired in April 2021. And then again life changed completely, and I had to come back and take care of the business in Kanpur on his behalf. This business got on the back foot because I could not maintain both the places together. But I was somehow managing, and it took me 1.5 years to manage that business. But then I had to come back, and because this is one dream that I wanted to do something of my own, a bigger market, a bigger place, more opportunities to growth. So more focus here. So yeah, so I'm kind of now that Kanpur business is more on auto mode, and then this business was in more of a as a passion or my bread and butter kind of thing. That's a long story short. But in between, if you talk about angel investment and those kind of stuff, because 2013 onwards, I did a lot of startups, like two, three startups, and in that process, I went ahead and met a lot of accelerators, a lot of VCs, and a lot of investors at that time. So those connect and those ecosystems were always in my contact list. And the vibe and passion and the energy that the startup founder brings in. I mean, I was like that 10 years, 15 years back. But then if I want to feel that same energy, then I have to be in that vicinity and talking to those people. So I said, why not? Let's be in touch with them. Around 2020, I made my first investment as an angel investor. 2 or 3 investments I made, and then in next 2, 3, 4 years, few more investments I made. Almost 20 plus investments I have done. I have primarily invested in accelerators, I would say. One of them is, let's say, PedalStart. Another one is aggregator by the name of Eagle 10 Ventures out of Bangalore. Another one I invested in Faad Network, which is again on the investment side. Angel B is another investor network, and few other startups I made my investments. Yeah, and I also invested in a fund as an LP by the name of Super Morpheus. So these are a few things which kind of brought me in touch with the startup system, and a lot of learnings again. First one was startup founder, and then as an angel investor again.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to go one step back.
Sure.
Very interesting story.
Sure.
I have two questions.
Sure.
First is, with your experience of continuing with your dad's business in Kanpur and trying to build your own, would you say the older wisdom of business still works better?
So older wisdom has a lot of pluses. I mean, you have to pick and choose, because see, as and when a business gets stabilized, it's proven. They have this what do you call आपको कहते हैं ना कि आपको ग्लोट करने का एक लाइसेंस मिल जाता है, एक तो वो रहता है, और जब
Bragging
आप
rights रहते हैं.
bragging rights,
हाँ.
that's the right word. And then when you come as a new age guy and coming from a corporate background with the AC boardrooms and AC offices and system and processes that you talk about, so there's a huge difference in these two worlds. It's very difficult to find a common ground. If you want to implement something and something is working on a very practical basis, on a day-to-day basis, it's very difficult to change that thing. You have to change yourself to mold in that stuff. But having said that, few things, a word that my father used to use is goodwill. From the very childhood of mine, I used to hear this word from him. Maybe he has learned that word from his B-commerce graduate class, but he tend to use quite often goodwill word. And he kept using that throughout his thing whenever I sat with him, and kind of he tried to train me. And that still holds good. I mean, even if I am talking to you today and talking to you right now on this podcast, I think that goodwill has played some part. Somebody has referred me to you, and he found that this guy is worth it, and this guy actually can add value, and some kind of perception is there. That's one. One more lesson that I, again, from his stories, I've learned that, so he used to get some credit from his suppliers, and then he used to service customers. So there are two kind of customers. There are two kind of from the supplier's point of view, he was one kind of customer, another kind of customer. People take the money, they give it, the fund product to the customer, and then they don't give it back the money on a timely basis. They'll keep dragging, they will use it somewhere, try to gumao fai somewhere, and then do it. My dad has this habit of, the moment he gets the money from the customer, he takes out his profit and gives the money back to the supplier. And he keeps narrating that story multiple times to me. And within 1, 2 or 3 weeks, the supplier will call up, जगन्नाथ जी, आपका ऑर्डर करला कब आ रहा है? अरे सर, पैसे नहीं है मेरे पास, अभी कुछ बिजी हूं मैं. अरे नहीं, उधार ले जाओ, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. So again, that is a goodwill, right? So he has created such a goodwill that money was never a problem from him. He started from zero. He was like coming from a village background and started from zero, and he didn't have that much of money. He just have some seed money maybe from himself, from some family friend, and but then market helps him just by the way he was managing the whole game. So that's another learning, So sometimes I wonder, or even in my case, I had to take his money because he had certain expectation from me that you have to start from here. So this is the minimum that you start. You have to build up this factory. I have took it up to there, but then beyond that, you have to build it up. And for that also, I don't need any extra money. Sometimes I wonder that why people need money in a startup world so early. From the day when the moment the startup founder wakes up, he learns about startups. He thinks about raising the funds rather than finding a customer, creating a value around it. No, he's more interested in raising the funds.
And
sorry, my answers are very long, but
no, it's great.
Yeah.
And also, before we start the conversation, can you define us an angel investor?
Angel investor. Okay, so I mean, he's a very simple guy. He's a very normal office going, maybe of a CXO level, or made some money in the past 10, 20 years. He's a very typical guy who has tried his hands into mutual funds, stock market, gold, and other things, and now he has some more extra money he wants to play with. He wants to play some gamble with it, and greed and fear kind of plays a good part, and he wants to multiply that money. And some of the angel investors are very unique because they also want to use their skill set to kind of advise the startup along with the money, because that gives a lot of fulfillment to that person. So that is another profile of an angel investor. So these kind of two kind of angel investors: one is pure money, pure play money guy. One is the guy who has certain skill sets in this corporate world. Just because age is not at his side, or he's not willing to take that much of risk. So he wants to get that thrill by investing in a startup and advising them using their skills as well. That's the kind of profile of angel investor in my mind. Yeah.
Okay. And on that spectrum, where do you lie?
So as an angel investor, so I said there's a lot of things that I've learned over a period of time as a corporate guy, or as a business guy, as a startup guy, as an MSME guy, as a typical dhande wala banda. So I want to teach everything to the startup founder. Of course, money part is there. I want to make money. If I'm earning something from my own business, definitely I want to take out something out of it and put up a gamble. I'm hoping that one of the startup will become 100x, and touch wood, even one of the investment has gone to 40x kind of return already. So yeah, so I'm kind of mix of both the things. Yeah.
And how do you evaluate startups as an investor?
Right. So okay. So first of all, we see at the founders, because typically in the startup world, when you start, after 3, 4, 5, 10 years, you will become a different company altogether. So one thing that stays common is the founder, basically. So you have to look at the founder. You have to evaluate that. Can you connect with them? Can you understand what they're saying? Do you think that they are teachable? Then only you put up money in them. Of course, a bit of sector wise also. Let's say some sector is in fashion, you might just sway away by that. So all alone, these were the factors. But now I've changed completely. I go with the community of angel investors. I go with the a common what do you call collective wisdom kind of thing. So I don't do that individual thing anymore. I generally do if 10, 20, 25 people are doing. Two of them are expert in that field. They understand. They have gone through the cycle in their own careers, and then I take advice and then do that.
Okay. And is this expert group, is it like always important, or it's just one of those complicated things only?
No, this is absolutely always non-negotiable. I mean, that is one of the filter points. I mean, a founder has to go through that grill thing. Of course, if it's just an idea, then maybe a person may have their own thesis, and then they might just go ahead, see the founder is good. They have the understanding of the space anyways, so they don't need to understand from the founder. They just guide them through that. They just need to understand that these guys can be coached per se. Yeah.
Right. And how do you think, how much is the relationship important with the investor and the founder, and with the customers, or the founder with the customers? Because there's this web of relationship that people have to maintain. How does that
very important, very much important. B2C, it's difficult to maintain because so many customers, but there also you will have some high value customers who are repeating yourselves. You need to get in touch with them to understand the insight of your business, what is working, what is not working. B2 is extremely important. Same with the investor also is extremely important, because if you're not utilizing, if you're talking about angel investor, if you're not utilizing that angel investors network and connect, then you are wasting. I mean, just money is not that much useful, so you need to utilize that. So that relationship is very important, and you need to build it over time. You cannot just say कि boss आपने पैसा दे दिया और काम खत्म हो गया. वो नहीं होने वाला, उससे काम नहीं बनने वाला. आपको उनसे एडवाइस लेनी है, उनके कनेक्ट को यूज करना है, उनको पुश करना है कि ना आप मुझे हेल्प करो. और होता बिल्कुल उल्टा है, बाय द वे. I mean, the moment you fund them, most likely they will stop responding. They are very busy utilizing the fund, building the business maybe, and they will skip their monthly insights or reports and everything. They think they can. I mean, I don't know what's going on in their minds. Generally, they think they can fulfill on their own. They understand everything. They know everything. And that is where they need a lot of help, and they don't come back and ask for it.
You think sometimes they lack discipline in that way, like with connecting with their investors? Or
you can say that discipline is an issue. I mean, not everybody is trained to get the feedback. First of all, it's a very double-edged sword, because who is a founder? Founder is a guy who is very driven person. He has something, that extra spark and then trigger in his mind. That's why he is getting into such a thing. But he doesn't understand the pitfalls of that thing, because he has not gone through that journey.
Right.
So it's kind of dilemma kind of thing, wherein do we expect that this guy needs a lot of help, but this guy thinks that I know a lot of things, I don't need help.
Yeah.
And that is where in between the guy who kind of compromises or find that middle path, that guy becomes successful because he's able to leverage multiple years of experience either through his mentor, advisor, or angel investors. So he's able to crack it through.
How do you build like genuine trust, you know, without sounding too transactional?
Okay, so I think this question we were discussing earlier also, maybe it's coming up from the fact that maybe this guy has not invested in the startup, but then we want to create that bond between them so that over a period of time, this investor can invest in the startup. So I think a very simple thing, he has to come and ask very specific question about the industry that I did this, I got successful, I got fail in this. Can you help? What should I have done and stuff like that? But he has to ask intelligent questions. He has to ask multiple questions, and that is where this angel investor will also get an insight in the minds of the founder. And once this guy start, helping on a various fronts, that trust automatically gets built up. Let's say I have given you certain advice. You came to me, boss, how to do this podcast. Let's say I said, do this, do that, do a lighting like this, do this, and you implemented that. And when I meet you, I discussed with you and said, yes, I implemented that. I got benefit out of it. Or maybe you can say, no, it was not good, but I implemented that. And suddenly I feel this guy value my advice. So there is a bond already being built between us. So that helps. So tomorrow, when you're ready to take the investment, then I think I would be more amenable to invest in you rather than in the first, second, and third meeting when I just gave you the advice. Problem with the founders sometimes I've seen in the world is that the first message that comes, sir, I'm raising funds, can you fund me? Right? I don't know you. I have not have any relationship with you as of now. On what basis I should fund you?
Right.
But you can always say, sir, I'm coming and I'm going to pitch you and stuff like that. But I think it doesn't work that way unless. So again, we're not talking about that 0.01% of the founder who are beyond everything. They will get funding anyways, and if they come to you, you will fund them without asking too many questions. But there is 99%, more than 99% are the people who need to build that bridge first, to travel that path first, build that confidence and trust with the investor, and then ask for funding. And better even, you have built so much of trust, so much of insights that you have shared, so much of journey you have shared. One find an investor himself, why don't you raise funds? Can I fund you? Can I help you raising funds? Now that is the time when you don't need to ask for it. You just get it. But I think that's a very difficult path to travel. But I think that is the only path to travel.
Say you don't know somebody and somebody approaches you. What would you look in the pitch deck?
Pitch deck, okay. So typically very, very simple things. First we look at whether the problem statement is very clearly defined or not. How are they define the solution? What is the team is all about? Have they have any traction in that? Have they done the competition analysis? Who's the advisor, mentor? I think that is also very important. If the founder has some background, 10, 12 years of corporate experience, great. If not, then is he guided by someone who has that experience? Yeah, these are the few things that we see. I mean, pitch deck is just a teaser kind of thing. I think that is important. And at the same time, second meeting is more important when you meet the founder, look at the energy, look at the vibe, the connection, and those kind of stuff. Yeah.
And you must be talking to a lot of founders and you've been in business for a long time. So has it ever happened that the mistakes that you've made have helped, like the knowledge from that has helped the founders?
Oh, okay. So plenty of those. I can give you at least one example. When I was running my e-commerce business, fashion jewelry e-commerce business, so very first post that we put on the Facebook, organically we got a customer. And then we got very happy that, we have something to sell. We are getting payment in advance, and then we are selling it back to the customer, couriering it to the customer. And then we started putting money in the performance marketing. First few months, great, fantastic. We are putting money, we are making money, we are getting sales. After some time, suddenly this cost of performance marketing has gone very high. And the thing that we used to sell, let's say 500, 600 rupees, and we used to earn 100 rupees out of that. When we are selling 2000 rupees, we are losing money. And the whole money is going to the performance marketing. And this is so weird that this whole thing is still true. I mean, if you look around, all these D2C businesses are who get initially some kind of traction, and they do some Google ads, they do some performance marketing with Meta and all, and they believe that they've got something, and then the moment they start spending more and more, they stop making sense. And that is where this I would say this learning that come from. If you're building a D2C brand, let's say B2C area, then you have to find some way to do some offline presence as well, do some of your other angles as well, so that tomorrow if one of the stream shuts down, you have something else to fall upon.
Right.
Or rather, you have to become omni-channel to make sure that one of the guys is not kind of making it difficult for you.
Yeah. Which means like it's okay when you're starting it, but when you're trying to scale it up, the CAC becomes like really high.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's a problem.
That is one of the examples in terms of learning. Yeah.
And like you've while you were narrating your story, you told us about a couple of things that you discontinued due to many reasons. What kind of lessons did you learn from them?
No, lessons are plenty. Again, okay, the very first lesson that I would say that the whatever amount of learning that I had in my corporate background, I did not use it directly for a business that I was building. Ideally, what should have happened is I should have found out a problem statement within the business, within the enterprise that I was working, and then try to implement that. That's one way. Otherwise, if you do something from scratch, that's a whole lot of cost of learning, and you should be mentally prepared for that. You cannot just say that just because you have done something else in some other field and now you are doing something else in some other field, this makes you more eligible to be successful. No, this will have its own learning curve. You have to go through that, and then it will take time. Another one is, as I said, in the solar business, the manufacturing and branding were two different ball games altogether. We were more of a manufacturing guy. We tried to create a brand which came out as a very costly affair for us, right, and which we have to shut down.
And obviously, so many people have so many attempts that they make to be successful, but obviously all the time it's not possible. So what is your message to them?
Go back to the job, learn again. I mean, if you ran out of funding, go back to job, learn again, collect some more money and try again. And this time maybe you're more wise because you have done some mistakes and learned from that. And find another believer if somebody is there again willing to fund based upon your skill and learnings and experience, and use that. Yeah, so I mean, life doesn't end there. In my case, though I have traveled a different way altogether, I have gone through my own cycles of exuberance and depressions and everything, and somehow sustaining even now, even in my current business for the past 2 years, let's say, were very difficult, and again we are back on track. So there's no shame. Tomorrow, if you have to shut down a business, that's absolutely fine. I mean, again, it's easier said than done, because a lot of pride and a lot of emotions go into your business. It's your baby. But no shame in that. If you have to shut it down, go back to job. Again, come back after some time. And even if you don't come back, it's absolutely fine. I mean, life is not about just startup and businesses or just making a lot of money. Life is more about whatever amount of money you are making, are you utilizing it for a proper purpose, and is it making you happy or not? Let me tell you, I mean, it's a long journey. Even after 10-15 years, even if you become a unicorn, even then there is a possibility that you're not happy. So you need to find that happiness quotient much earlier than thinking that once I raise a lot of fund and become a unicorn, then I'll become a happy guy.
Yeah. And while talking to you, I've heard about this consultative selling. How has that, what is it first of all, and how is it shaping your investment philosophy? So
this is very interesting topic, and interestingly, I had a training in my corporate life, and maybe a one-day training or something. Inadvertently, we have been using that anyways, but once you get trained, that you understand the value of it more. For example, never try to sell. A very simple example, we used to go and sit with the operator organization and try to sell certain features. We have developed this feature in my product. Why don't you, pay for it and buy it? And we saw a lot of resistance in that. But then when I sat with them and asked, what are the problems that you are facing? Tell me about that. And then try to map one of the features which might just help him, or create a new customized feature, giving the feedback to your R&D guys. That will work better than anything else. Same thing applies to a startup. When you're trying to build something, don't just build something and try to thrust upon that thing to the customer. Go and sit with the customer, get some insight, then come back and try and build it up. Even though if you build up something and you try to push it, that's fine. You can test it out with the customer, but be ready to customize your product as per the insight of the customer. This you will get only when you get into consultative mode. You have to be a friend with them. You have to put yourself into the shoes of the customer, understand what his problem, where is coming from. You cannot just build something and say ki aapko kharidna padega. In fact, that same thing applies to the fundraising process also. You need to understand the mindset of the investor or VC first. What are their theses, what they are looking for. Are they aligned with your industry? Are they aligned with your approach or not? Once you understand that, then maybe either you will say that he is not the guy. I'm not gonna do it with him, or I'm not gonna raise from this guy. Or if you see the alignment, then you will talk his own language, and that will make a lot of sense, I think. Yeah.
And in terms of networking, I'm just taking a guess that a lot of people who are trying to raise money must be reaching out to you through different channels, and LinkedIn is a very popular way of doing that. So, how do you think founders can leverage this platform of connections?
So that is one platform. LinkedIn is one platform. Other platform is all these community events that keep happening. And I see a lot of value in that. Generally people see that, I don't know anyone. How do I do that? How do I approach? How do I cold call? Or maybe I send him the message. He did not respond. So keep sending messages, not a problem. I mean, again, message, how do you want to craft that message? You can take advice from people like me or some other people, or your seniors, or who have been there, done that kind of people. Even if you're not getting response, try to catch hold of your target audience in one of these community events. Attend those events. There is always a connection. You will find, who inspired you? Like somebody must have inspired you to do the startup, right? It could be your college senior who is successful. It could be one of your family members who is successful, and maybe your friend. Somebody might have inspired you to ask for where do you want to go and catch hold of these people. Go and just discuss your idea. Don't ask for funding. Just discuss. Try to make a connection. You can always say that I know I was talking to this guy and this guy had this problem. I think I could solve that problem. I created this product. What do you think? That could be a starting point. And not everybody would respond to that, but then that's where the beauty is. Out of 100, if one or two guys respond to that, because they're able to relate to that, and that's your starting point, and you can take it from there.
And is VC funding suitable for everyone, or
no, not all the businesses are meant for VC funding. As I said, out of 100, maybe 0.01% are the guys who get funded, and then they become big, and then they digest that funding also, because funding comes with a lot of liability also. Funding is the step one, not the last step, right? So a lot of expectations, a lot of inorganic growth is required. So there are two or three things. One is the founder's capacity to grow that fast the way investor wants. Not every founder is meant like that. We keep hearing the story that one child is extraordinary. That's one extreme. There is another extreme when not every child is as extraordinary as the one could be, right? Same with the founder also. If I put you in a situation which you are not able to manage, then you will burn out. It's not going to work. Similarly, if you look at the industry, not every industry might be ready for that hyper growth, right? Within the industry, the idea that you're working on, this is very much possible that the way you are trying to solve, maybe it needs that slow cooking process. If you try to do very fast, that आपकी दाल जल जाएगी, पता चला आपको.
And आपको क्या ज़्यादा attract करता है, like a business which has the capacity of completely blasting off at some point, or you see a business that it might not blast off like big time, but it will be steady?
So I tell you what, so because I have done all the three businesses, even the one which got shut down, more on a profitable basis, more of sustainable basis, people call it Lala business kind of thing. So I believe personally, this is in my control. This is the way I build up the businesses. I can do the same thing or advise the people for that. But I'm not averse to the other side of it as well, because as an investor, angel investor, I'm looking for those kind of blast off businesses, right? I think the idea is that you need to find out whether this business or this startup can actually sustain of that 10-15 years of continuous hyper growth phase or not. That's where you have to choose. So if there is what do you call a high energy founder is put into this only profitable business, this will not work. A low energy guy who thinks he can do the startup, who think he can do the hyper growth, puts in this thing, it would not work. So you need to find the right fit. Both of them are okay. Yeah.
And कभी ऐसा हुआ है कि somebody came to you, आपको idea अच्छा लगा, business भी ठीक लग रहा है, but somehow you're not convinced with the founder.
Many times. See, you get that. This is something called this is somewhat, I would say, you can bring the spirituality into the system as well. When you meet someone, you feel like you want to talk to them, you want to meet them again, you want to converse them for a longer period of time. For example, right now when we started this podcast, I was like nervous that how would it go. But since I'm talking to you, the amount of the kind of question that you're asking or the way I'm responding, I'm very comfortable, right? And for some founders, you don't feel like that. So yes, on that basis also you decide, you want to do that or not. But at the same time, sometimes the kind of question founders ask, if you have done your homework, if you've done your research, if you are coming from a background wherein you have experienced the problem statement that you're trying to solve, or you know how to solve it in a very deeply manner, that comes out. You will get to know. Other side of it, a founder comes in just like, on a LinkedIn, you send a cold message. Just by chance, you got a meeting, face-to-face meeting with me, and then what you're saying is, let me, let's talk about valuations, let's talk about funding. First question. And I think that's a wrong approach altogether. Some of the founders that I've met they came on the pretext of advising, getting the advice. But then after the meeting that you realize, no, he's not for advice. If you would have become the angel investor immediately, then he was happy. Otherwise he's nowhere to be seen after that meeting.
Say, what do you say about, like, you're from IIT, right? And what do you say about people who are not from founders who are not from premier institutions? Because if you look at some of the businesses that started, say, a few decades ago, maybe those founders were not from premier institutions, right? But they ran incredibly huge businesses, right?
Yes.
Then but is it very difficult for non-IIT or non-IIM people to compete in the startup ecosystem?
It's a bit difficult, but not very difficult. Why I say a bit difficult? See, there's a very clear-cut career path for any founder or any guy who lives a life throughout. Maybe these IIT-IIM guys were much aware before rest of the people, and that's why they prepared themselves for those exams, and they kind of got success from there. And that filtration has happened long time back for them. And then they got community kind of right training. So when they meet after 4, 5, 10 years of working to a founder, investor and everything, so an investor is kind of taken for granted. This much of filtering is already done, right? If somebody is coming from a non-IIM background, this investor has to put up more effort to understand that. And if this guy has not covered it in the rest of his career, then he's exposed again. So whatever these IIM guys have done throughout their thing, this guy has to do with that extra hard work to compete with them. It's not difficult. I mean, end of the day, if you are solving a problem which I can relate to and I understand, either I'm able to believe that you will be able to solve that problem, I'm all for it. I have done. In fact, same thing. Okay, that's a very good point that you raised. The first 3 investment that I made, 2 of them failed and 1 of them that worked. Those guys were not IIT-IIM guys. I mean, they are doing incredibly fantastic. Faad Capital, I'm talking about.
Yeah. Great. And you mentioned the word community, right? So how being part of a startup community with other investors and other people who are helping build that system, how does that add value?
Not just value, this is of utmost importance. This is as good as a hygiene, I would say. And that kind of triggered one more thought in my mind, is that the founder journey is very lonely. I mean, these guys have a lot of expectations from society, let's say from parents, from their peers, from themselves, and they had nobody to share with. Only people that they can share with who is going through a similar journey. Where would they found that guy? They would found that other person in one of the communities of the founders. That's a bare minimum that they need. They have to vent out, they have to cry, they have to share their joy. Joy should not be like they have always raised funding. Joy could be that I've got this one customer, I'm very happy, and how did you treat that? How did you build onwards from there? And then come the other tangible benefits. Let's say there's a community of 100, 200, 500 people. I am part of such few communities. You just put up a query, you get at least 2 or 3 responses. You get some reliable vendor responses. You said you would get some good reviews from the vendors. You'd get some creative solution to that. I mean, what else do you need? I mean, if alone, you would be just bhatko fai here and there, and then eventually you will leave it. So this is of utmost importance from both the perspectives: psychological, emotional, business, and of course, these networks will eventually also give you some referrals. If there are some investors in those communities, you will get those also. So yeah, that's very important. Yeah.
And to be honest, I'm just trying to add one more point here is, when you are a part of the community, a lot of serendipity happens, right?
Yeah.
Then you kind of get ideas automatically, or those kind of things.
Yeah.
Right?
So it's like igniting each other. आप किसी के साथ बैठे हो और वो बंदा बहुत एनर्जेटिक है और उसकी कोई बात आपको समझ में आ गई और आपने अपने इम्प्लीमेंट कर लिया करके, या अदर वे राउंड ऑल्सो आप सैड हो, वो एनर्जेटिक है, देन दैट गिव्स यू लॉट ऑफ एनर्जी, राइट? So that helps a lot. You see वो बचपन में पढ़ते थे ना कि मनुष्य एक सामाजिक प्राणी है, man is a social animal. So we are that. Somehow we over a period of time got into that trajectory when we want to do everything alone, because of whatever reason, and because कि हमको लगता है कि हमारा हमने किया और हमारा है और हमी को चाहिए. बट देन अगर आप किसी कम्युनिटी के पार्ट हो और एज अ सोशल एनिमल बिहेव कर रहे हो और वो आपकी बेसिक नेसेसिटी है, देयर इज नो अदर वे, यू कैन नॉट अवॉइड इट.
And with your experience of running your own business, helping people start their business, run their businesses, every business requires like a vision/mission. Then you need strategy. Then you need tactical execution. आपके हिसाब से गड़बड़ कहाँ हो जाती है?
ये सारे ही पॉइंट्स हैं जहाँ पर आपकी फेल्योर हो सकती है. हालांकि स्ट्रेटजी और विजन ये सारी चीज़ें बाद में आती हैं. अगर आप एक बहुत ही इनिशियल स्टेज, अर्ली स्टेज स्टार्टअप की बात करो तो बहुत ही सिंपल है. आपका कस्टमर कौन है? क्या वो आपको पे करना चाहता है जो भी आप बना रहे हो, जो भी आप प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व कर रहे हो? उसके बाद अगर वो पे कर रहा है तो क्या वो डिलाइट फील कर रहा है? उसके बाद इज ही विलिंग टू पे प्रीमियम टू यू? देन द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन कम इज कि 1 है कि 2 है कि 10 है कि 100 है. सो फिर वहां से धीरे धीरे जब आपका साइज बढ़ना शुरू होता है, देन आपकी बाकी चीजें, स्ट्रेटजी और ये सब चीजें क्रिएट होती हैं. फर्स्ट तो ये है कि क्या कोई एक बंदा भी है जो आपकी प्रॉब्लम से आइडेंटिफाई कर पा रहा है और वो उसके पैसे देने को तैयार है. तो आई थिंक फिर वहां से आपका आईसीपी डिफाइन होता है. और देयर इज स्टिल अ पॉसिबिलिटी दैट आफ्टर 100, 200, 1000 customers it may not work. Right. But then even for it to work, you need at least those 100, 200,000 people.
Right. And when you meet early stage founders or any founder for that matter, what are some of the red flags that you see in a person that this probably is not going to work out?
No, I think we discussed that already. Somebody's coming for an advice in the garb of raising funds. And again, if you're not able to connect, if you ask few questions, there is not much homework, not much insights have been dealt with, and it's very easy to find out. Somebody who has gone through that problem either in the corporate career or in the field itself, the way he would respond is totally different. And somebody who's just faking and trying to I mean, it's very easy. It's not very difficult. I can see as an angel investor. One more thing I keep saying to all the founders, that investor is looking for a reason to reject you. I have 100 of options, right? Not because I have some sinister thing in my mind, but I have my money and it's so risky to put in a startup. Anyway, if I select a wonderful guy from IIT background and fantastic idea and things, there is still a chance that it will fail, right? So why not I would put a bet on someone who has the least amount of these risks. So you got to be very careful. You have to do your homework very, very clearly. The moment I realize that you're faking or you're bullshitting, I would lose attention immediately.
And I was having a chat with somebody on valuation, and so why shouldn't, the question that I have in mind now is, why shouldn't founders obsess about valuation when they've just started? Like,
how will you create a valuation at that stage? There is nothing more than the founder himself, right? Some of his pedigree would be there, some of his work experience could be there, but valuation generally comes from numbers, whatever traction that you've achieved, and stuff like that, and that will create a valuation. So I think it's foolish to talk about valuation at that stage. Of course, when you're talking to an investor might come up with some valuation parameters based upon the conversation that he has with his own community, and there might be certain thesis, certain parameters. Some VCs might be doing some market analysis, numbers crunching and everything, and then they are coming up with that number. But at an early stage, these are all fluff. I mean, you have to focus on creating value. Valuation will follow, and let the professional do their job. Let them decide. And at that stage, it hardly matters. I mean, if you get a good, if you get a person, investor or VC who's aligned with your thought process, I think that is more valuable. Valuation can be adjusted over a period of time. Even if you get a very high valuation, and tomorrow if you're not able to raise fund higher than that, then you're doomed anyways. So even if you get a lower valuation initially, and then you're doing good job of yours, you will cover it up. So it's not, you should not be worried about that.
And the investor or the founder, both of their objective is to build a successful business, right?
Yes.
But tell me one difference in perspective. Like, do you find, like, from an investor point of view, my perspective is different, the founder has a different perspective. What are some of those points where people disagree?
Okay, so do the disagree. So first of all, if they are agreeing to fund the business, at that point I think both of them are agreeing to certain things. Ideally, in my view, founder should always be looking to build the business. Investor has this inherent necessity to look at the valuation or multiples or the market size, stuff like that. Let him do that. The moment founder also starts chasing that, then it becomes artificial a bit. I mean, this guy is anyway looking at those things. He will drive you, he will advise you, he will ask you to experiment 1, 2, 3 or 4 things. But your job is always has to have a customer obsession. How to give value to the customer and create that value. So this guy should be focusing on value. This guy can keep focusing on valuation. And when there is a common ground, transaction will happen anyways.
And you must have observed so many businesses with your experience. Why do some businesses have higher customer retention versus some people are not able to retain a higher lot? Is there something different about these businesses?
No, I think that's a mismatch. It's a mismatch of the expectation and the value that product is being created. Because again, as I said, I have been into 3 businesses. In all 3 businesses, I had customers. In all 3 businesses, I have I've got repeat customers, people liking it, and then at the same time, the critical mass was not good enough for me to sustain. And then beyond a point, it was very difficult to maintain that value for the customer, the kind of value that I was expecting. I think it's more of a market and business dynamics than anything else. I mean, of course, you can keep trying and improving you should keep trying and improving your product and offerings, and no doubt about that. But there's no guarantee that it will always be successful. Yeah.
And when we started the podcast, you spoke about your father.
Yeah.
How's your father's, influence is still, you follow that, and how does it, drive you?
Knowingly or unknowingly, he's always in my back of mind. I mean, whatever decision, the way I behave, everything, kind of coming from him. And frankly speaking, a lot of things when I go back to the history and relate to that. Today, if I'm planning to, open a pre-accelerator kind of thing wherein I want to, have 1 week program or 1 month program or 1 day program for startup founders, or arrange conferences and events for the startup founders wherein we can make investors and founders meet. And then talk about these incubators and accelerators and all those new age terms. I realized that my father used to have 30 years back, Only difference was that he could only train who came to him easily. And again, a lesson to be learned here, the people who came to him because there was already a connection. Maybe they were in the family, they were there, his nephews and stuff like that. But what he used to do is he used to bring all those guys who cross 18, 19 years of age. They used to come to our factory. They used to live there, eat there, drink there for whole 6 months, 1 year. They learn that thing, the craft of creating battery plates and how to sell it, how to talk to customers and stuff like that. And then my father used to give them a small fund or something, and then they used to open a shop somewhere in a new area, in a blue ocean kind of environment, right? So this is what is it is. This is the incubation and the acceleration only, right? So he used to run those accelerators 30 years back. It's just that the name was not there.
Right.
So yeah, so that's one thing. And I mean, a lot of stories with fathers. I'm not able to recollect right now exactly, but yes, this guy had a lot of energy and everything, and I just wish that I could match that. I think some of it is still there, and that's what I keep looking at in founders as well, and trying to share that with founders.
Right.
That is one thing. And maybe I'll just remember, I'll let you know, but as of now, yeah.
And couple of questions I have. First is, for the next 3-4 years, what are the kind of sectors or businesses you are looking to, you feel excited about?
So I'm coming from a recycling battery background. So battery is one keyword that has been associated throughout my life. So that kind of fascinates me, though it's a different matter that I could not switch from one type of business to another type of business. So EV is one sector which I'm very bullish about. It has to happen. Electrical vehicle, autonomous vehicle, and then air taxis are in the fray. In fact, I remember I've wrote a tweet and keep it in the safe that in India, just like mobile phone came before the landlines. I mean, the density of mobile phone kind of captured much faster than landline. Same will happen with the air taxis. Autonomous vehicle come, they will be on the road, but then air taxi will take over that thing. Let's see if it happens or not. So yeah, so that's one thing. Yeah.
And my last question for you is, any advice for people who want to be founders or are new founders? Any advice for them?
No, very simple. I think advice is again very simple. Find that insight, problem insight. Try to gain some work experience, either working with a startup or working in a corporate. It doesn't matter. And then find that family friend or fool who can fund you initial days, because if it is your money, the way you will spend is entirely different than from a formal organized investor money. Anyways, it's very difficult to get, so you have to take that path and just keep at it. Keep talking about it. Don't try to hide your idea. Some people, some startup founders think that if you share their idea, it will be known to everyone and then it will be stolen. No, that doesn't happen. Ideas are plenty in the market. Execution is the thing that you should focus on. So yeah, so that is the most important thing, and if you keep at it, you will get it. Again, as I said, that even if you fail and go back to your job, no shame in that. Go back. If you still feel the drive, come back again, do it again. And I've been doing still. I want to become that shiny guy. Let's say once I'll become that, and that's what driving me. Let's say.
Yeah.
But even if it doesn't, I'm okay with that. I'm really happy with the way I am. Yeah.
Sure. Vinay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much
for coming here, sharing your thoughts with us, enriching us and the audiences.
Sure.
I hope we will meet soon again
absolutely.
and talk about multiple things again.
Sure.
Till then, I guess, thank you so much again.
I hope it was insightful. I mean, for you and for your audience. And for me, it's like, I love sharing whatever I have. If people implement that, great. If they don't, even that is fine. But I keep sharing that thing.
Sure. Thank you so much for listening to us. And if you have any questions for Vinay or me, please drop them in the comments and we will get back to you. Till then, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks.